It's time to down tools for a bit. Welcome to the ToolShed, the influential podcast for anyone and everyone involved in the building industry. Here's your host, Mick Hawes.
Hey folks, welcome to the ToolShed Podcast. Maybe, over a year ago, I would guess, seeing this is like episode 130 something, we spoke to a chap from HazardCo. We're revisiting HazardCo because having systems and processes around safety and health is absolutely critical. And I think it's one of those things that we really feel that is important once the shit hits the fan. But we need to do a lot of preemptive stuff, and finding a system like HazardCo where it kind of makes it quite simple and effortless to keep control of what we need to keep control and tick all of the boxes, keep everyone safe, is super important. So we're going to unpack that in just a sec. Before we get started, want to remind you, if you haven't done the Builder's Scorecard, there's a link in the description. Click the link and you'll answer just a few questions. Take about 90 seconds. And based on those answers, you will receive a score of how well you're doing with your building business in 4 key areas. What you'll also receive is a custom report based on the answers or the score that you get doing the scorecard that will give you some suggestions on how you can improve those scores and get rid of some ugly stuff out of your business and move it forward in a short step with a small amount of time. So it's a good thing to do. Click the link, do the Builder Scorecard, and get that good stuff in the inbox. Nick Halley from HazardCo is with us. I'm assuming that you're somewhere in Australia, because somewhere in the deep, dark recesses of my mind, I believe that HazardCo started in New Zealand, or am I just making that up?
No, you're absolutely right. And no, I'm not in Australia. I am, in fact, in New Zealand, sitting in Wellington, sitting in the capital. But we're an Australasian business. Yes, we started in New Zealand, but sort of four-ish years ago, we moved into Australia and have had great success. And more recently, we're actually pushing out into the UK as well.
Nice. So you haven't made the big move over to Australia. So is the head office in New Zealand, or what's the structure?
Yeah, I mean, technically, yes. We've got our office here in Wellington, but we've also got an office in Melbourne and now one in the UK as well. We all work pretty collaboratively. So I think technically this is the HQ, but we've got senior members on both sides of the ditch.
Yeah, cool. So one thing that I always like to find out, and we're going to sort of unpack the changes and the shifts and the focus and so forth of the HazardCo journey over the past sort of 18 months since we spoke last. But I always like to find out about your personal backstory, because I find that fascinating as to why the bloody hell we end up doing what we do and jumping into areas that fascinate us, or I've said it a billion times on this podcast. I became an electrician because my dad said there's an electrician coming over to give you a job this afternoon. If you don't take it, you'll be working for me. And he was a commercial builder, and I didn't want to work for him anyway. So that's how I became an electrician. But how did you get involved in all of this? What was the story that led you to your current position?
Yeah, it's a long and winding story, so I'll give you the short version. But ultimately, so I started my career in the New Zealand Air Force, doing aviation electronics. I sort of spent 4 years there, and look, the Air Force is a great place for a young guy to sort of explore and decide what he wants to do in the world. Ultimately, though, I remember sitting in front of one of my sort of commanding officers, and he slapped this file down on the table, and it was sort of half an inch thick, and he goes, here's the file of someone who's been in the Air Force sort of 15, 20 years. And then he pulls out this like absolutely sort of 1.5, 2-inch thick file and goes, and here's yours, Halley. And so I think it was at that moment that I realized that the Air Force probably wasn't right for me. And so, but they were really good. They helped me into university, and I started studying computer science. And really what I found once I'd finished my degree, I went to Xero, the accounting software. And that's really where I discovered this sort of passion for helping small businesses. So I actually jumped out of the computer science side. I'm still sort of in that field, but I don't write code or anything. And for me, it's really around how do I position the businesses that I work for in the best way I possibly can to help small business. And so I went from Xero, I moved to Verifone, which owns FPOS New Zealand, so really helping with payment solutions. And then I came across HazardCo about 4.5 years ago. And I had this opportunity to sort of step in for a 12-month contract to really just help them build out their, I guess, development processes, and how do we decide on which products to build, which products to focus on, how do we improve our design. And so, I stepped into the sort of 12-month contract. 6-7 months in, I thought this is probably one of the coolest places I've ever worked, believe it or not. And so I spoke to the CEO at the time and said, hey, what do you reckon about me staying on? And so I've been here ever since.
Why was it one of the coolest places that you've ever worked? I'm fascinated by that because to me, it's so important, like from a building business, any business, to have people that are really passionate about what's going on. Like there's nothing more frustrating than having someone that just turns up to get paid. They're just putting in the hours. It's kind of you hiring the person from the neck down. You're not getting any imagination or input or creativity or passion. So I'm fascinated as to understand why you said that.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like when I started at HazardCo, firstly the interview process and meeting the leadership team here was awesome, and I really got on with everyone. So that's kind of what led me in. And then what really made me super enjoy it is, health and safety, it's definitely no one's favorite topic, other than a few sort of health and safety advisors that I know out there. But it's one of those things that it's super important for people to grasp and to understand, not only from a, let's keep our people healthy and safe perspective, but let's stay compliant. Let's make sure the law's on our side and keep our business safe as well. Because no one wants to do it, from a designing digital products standpoint, it's a super interesting challenge. When I worked at Xero, for example, accountants love it. It's sort of this great new product. It led to all of these great innovative ideas. There's, Xero's a big company, lots of money. It didn't have the same challenges that somewhere like that HazardCo has. Similar with, if I went and worked for a social media company like TikTok or Facebook or some of these other products out there like Canva, for example, where, they're these super engaging topics and people are using them because they really want to use them. That's a totally different challenge from, hey, it's health and safety. We've got to fill out some paperwork. How do we make that interesting? How do we get people engaged with health and safety? And engaged at the right level as well. And so it was really that challenge that I found super interesting. And what really helps with that is just the people here are great. Like I think you had Luke on your podcast a year and a half ago. Awesome guy. He's actually no longer with us, but
he's still alive, just to clarify.
Yeah, still alive, but no longer with HazardCo. And it was people like Luke and others around the business, Ian, the CEO. They've just been amazing to work with.
Yeah. So you said that, people don't like to do this. It's not the most exciting topic. I know this. I used to sell life insurance. I got a bit excited about that, for a couple of years that I was doing it. I learned a lot, but I get that when you're, if you like, selling something that people know that they need but they don't really want, it can be a tough gig. I assume that there's a lot of old school guys out there, and even from my perspective, like back when I was an apprentice in the 70s, like so much has changed about the requirements of just walking onto a site or whatever. Like it was so casual back then, and leaning your ladder up against all sorts of shit, on a couple of chairs or something like that on the tray of a truck to get up high, whatever, You can't do that sort of stuff anymore. Why does HazardCo exist? Like, what are the issues, the problems that can happen and can affect, let's say, a building business if they don't if they're not compliant? And there's obvious safety things, like people can get hurt. But what are some of the legal ramifications or the things that can really affect a builder or a trades-based business if they haven't got the appropriate compliance in place and something does happen? Because accidents do happen.
Yeah. It's it's a good question, and I'd probably start by saying, I'm not a health and safety advisor at all, and I'm certainly not a lawyer. So I can only speak from what I've seen and my experience. But I think particularly with the compliance side and making sure that people are safe. I mean, there's a number of really worrying areas for a business if they don't get this stuff right. And, at the top level, you can get fined. Simple as that. You can get fined directly by WorkSafe. They can take you to court. You can end up paying a lot of money for not complying with, the things that you should be doing, not having a SWIMS when you're doing high risk work, not having a safe system of work, not having a site-specific safety plan or a WHSMP in place when you're over those thresholds. So, at the top level, it's that. And then you come down a level and you look at, so let's say we've got all that in place from a paperwork and compliance side. Does that translate to doing the right thing on site? Do our staff, our contractors, the people we work with understand how to actually work safely, how to make sure that they are preventing themselves from getting injured, preventing others from getting injured? Because when you do see injuries, yes, you're right. It's that, you never want to see people get hurt, and everyone's got a right to come home from work at the end of the day, healthy and safe. But then again, just even purely from a financial perspective, you hurt someone, they're off work for a couple of weeks. What does that do to your timelines? What does that do to your business? What are those? I mean, every builder knows delays cost. Delays cost a lot of money. And so what happens if one of your key people is off site and you can't get a replacement? What happens if WorkSafe shuts your site down because it's because you're not meeting some sort of requirements? What are those delays going to do to your project, your site, and your business?
Yeah. Hey, I hope you're enjoying the podcast. We're always trying to bring you information that's going to make your life as a builder much easier. So give us a thumbs up and make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss the next episode. Yeah, it's absolutely critical, and I think, HazardCo has demonstrated that it doesn't have to be onerous either. Like you can use the tools and you can get rid of, I guess, a lot of the activity that did tend to bog people down, and they get the shits with it and paperwork and this, that, and the other. So, with the advent of electronics and so forth, devices, apps, and that, it makes it a lot easier. On some of our discussions with some other software platforms that are used in the building industry, there has been a discussion about the advent of AI. Is AI involved at all in the evolving HazardCo process? If so, how?
Yeah. It's look, the world of AI fascinates me personally. I've dived in and I've really tried to understand it from a sort of impact perspective and then a deeper technical perspective as well. What I would say is that it's very easy to get caught up in the hype of AI. Very easy to go, oh, look, if you're not using AI, you're getting left behind. And I'd say, look, that's true to some extent, provided you're solving a real problem.
Yeah.
There's a lot of AI for AI's sake, and there's a lot of, and beyond AI is true of all technology, sort of a solution looking for a problem. And I think, if you can be very clear about what the problem you're trying to solve, what that problem is, then in some cases AI absolutely will be the right tool to solve that problem. We look at, sort of solutions, particularly with larger commercial builds and potentially static sites like waste management facilities, etc. You've got machine learning and machine vision looking at these sites and being able to pick out individual risks, but it's not broadly applicable, and it's super expensive to set up. So when I think about HazardCo's customers, and we're primarily around residential building, right? So individual standalone houses all the way up to sort of medium density multi-unit residential building. The budget for having cameras and machine learning and someone sitting in the background annotating data, and those budgets just don't exist for our types of customers. And the risks don't exist either. You're unlikely to have 30 or 40 people working around big cranes and diggers and things like that. So the risk profile is different. So I'd say, some of these solutions exist, and ultimately they will come down and filter down into these sort of more residential markets. But for now, it's really about, okay, what's the actual problem you're trying to solve, and what's the best tool to solve that problem with? And AI is not always that.
No, I just think some people get a bit concerned about it, a bit scared of it. But like any tool, it can be used for good, it can be used for bad. That's happened throughout history. So I'm sure it will be, if it's not already a part of the process. One of the things I noticed about the HazardCo website is that there's now, and it probably has been for a while, a resources section where you've got all sorts of things like blogs, you've got a toolbox meeting guide, but you've also got this thing, a video series, Safety with Glenn. So what would that be used for? Who watches that? What's the purpose of that? Is it just practices about how to avoid the problems in the first place? What's the go there?
Yeah, it's basically, so HazardCo is we're more than just a digital platform. Obviously, we've got the app and we've got our website, which we call the Hub, which has got a bunch of information on it. We're really not trying to be just a blanket tech platform. Really, for us, it's about how do we make health and safety simple, and going back to that discussion on what's the right tool for the job, and how do we solve that problem as best as we can. It goes beyond just creating a platform that people can log into and fill out a form. It's about that end-to-end process of helping our customers and helping our customers' contractors understand health and safety, and how do we make that simple. And so that's why we try multiple avenues for getting this information across. It's building your swims, for example, in the app. It's got that guided content. We've got a video series, Safety with Glenn. Glenn's a great guy, and they can be entertaining to watch. And then we've got blogs, newsletters. It's really about having a multi-channel approach to try and reach our customers in a way that works for them, so they can understand from an educational perspective what it is they need to do when they're working on site and how to keep themselves safe.
Yeah. I also noticed there's Beyond the Build series. So I'm assuming that's a podcasty, video-y type scenario. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I actually can't tell you too much about that. I haven't been super involved, other than it's managing director of Australia runs that, and he just talks about how to run your business. So beyond just swinging a hammer and building buildings, how do you actually build your business?
Yeah,
and so that's what that series is about.
Yeah. So one thing that I think is super important, and we do talk to quite a few organisations that provide platforms, software, etc., for people in the building industry, is just the customer interaction. Personally, I think it's really important that it's all well and good to sign up to use the technology, but I think what's really important is being able to have a voice as to how it's working for you, what doesn't work, what we could do to improve it, all that sort of stuff. What does that look like for HazardCo, the average residential builder? Do they have access to be able to tap into the ear of HazardCo to have improvements made and have their concerns listened to?
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree, that's super important. And it's one of the main avenues that me and my team, we get an understanding of what it is that we actually need to improve on, what do we need to build, what features are we missing, and how can we help our customers. So we do that in a number of ways. I've got user researchers in my team that literally go out. They've gone out to building sites. They go out to these small businesses, medium-sized businesses, sit with them, understand their challenges in terms of health and safety, using the app, interacting with HazardCo, and then we take that all away and turn that into a product roadmap that we then deliver on. The other thing is we've just got such a good, and going back to one of the reasons I love working for HazardCo, is we've got such a good customer experience, customer service and advisory team. Excellent people that are always available at the end of the phone. Particularly our advisory team. If you ever, one of the main benefits of signing up for HazardCo is, yes, you've got the platform, but you've also got this service where you can jump on the phone, give us a call, and you've got a qualified health and safety advisor at the end that can help you through whatever problem, whether it's covered in the app or not. You can talk to them about your worries, your concerns, your challenges in and around health and safety, and they can give you some tailored, specific advice to your situation. So it's really like having a health and safety advisor in your back pocket. It's like having one on the payroll, but without having to have one on the payroll.
Yeah.
And it's such a great service, and the more people that can use it, the better for us, because we learn a lot, but then hopefully our customers learn a lot as well. And that all of that sort of feedback and those calls, all of that comes in. We've got this great big board where we collect all these ideas and feedback, and then we periodically go through that and make sure that's incorporated. And then we reach back out to those customers and say, hey, remember that problem you had? Here's our solution. What do you reckon?
So somebody watching this that is thinking, maybe I don't have the I's dotted and the T's crossed as far as my health and safety, or maybe they're using something that's maybe a lot more manual, a lot more time consuming and takes a lot more effort, and they're thinking this might be the way to go. What's the sort of the pathway to you guys? What's the best way to reach out, go for a test drive, get their questions asked and answered to see whether HazardCo is the right fit for their situation? Yeah,
look, you can jump on our website, www.hazardco.com, sign up for a free trial. jump in and have a play around. Benefit of that is one of our team will be in touch as well and sort of talk through any concerns. Alternatively, just give us a ring.
Yeah, that's simple stuff.
Yeah.
Looking into the future, have I don't know what you can tell us or let us in on any top secret stuff or whatever. But what are some of the things that you might be considering in the future? What would the transformation and the future of HazardCo look like? Because things are changing. There's lots of things going on, and requirements and expectations are always shifting. What's in the pipeline with HazardCo that at least you can tell us about?
Yeah, for sure. I think we've still got a lot of work to do on a bunch of different areas, and our up until now our main interaction point with people on site has been very much on our mobile app. We're getting lots and lots of requests for, hey, can I do what I do on the app on a computer? Putting together a swims. Ideally, swims are put together when you arrive at site because you understand what are the challenges and dangers in front of you. What we're hearing more of is, I want to have a template or a draft, and that's much easier to put together on a computer in the back office. Then I can take that to site and make any adjustments and edit. And so we're trying to get more and more of our functionality that's available on the app right now, get that onto what we call the hub, which is our web app. On top of that, we've just grown. We've grown so much as a business over the last couple of years, and with that come, technical challenges. Things start to creak a little bit, and so there's a lot of back end work that's going on to make sure that our platform is scalable and can grow with our customer base. So those are the sort of the two main areas. Other than that, going back to that conversation around AI, it's really just down to where can we deploy AI that solves genuine, real problems, and how do we help people understand? You get a 40-50 page triple SP or a site specific safety plan off one of your main contractors. How might we use AI to help people understand what's in that, so they don't have to read all 40 or 50 pages, but they get the really critical key information out? How do we help people have more effective toolbox talks with their team using AI-generated content, AI-generated ideas? How do we make sure that people can one of the super interesting areas for me is around MSDSs or material safety data sheets. There's a hell of a lot of information in those. They're fantastic documents if you've got a couple of hours to sort of read and digest and look up all of the various terms in them and understand what they mean, and do that every single time you pull out a window cleaner. And so trying to understand the difference between, hey, I'm working with something really toxic here versus, it's a window cleaner, which, I'm sure in big enough quantities is toxic, but, trying to understand those differences. AI is really good at sort of reading those documents, pulling out the key information and going, hey, this is dangerous because of your situation and because of how you're using it. And here are the key things that you need to now put in place, versus it's window cleaner. Just, spray it a couple of times. Don't drink it.
Don't drink the battery acid.
Yeah, absolutely. So, it's really about how do we, over the next wee while, look for what are those really helpful and important use cases where AI can help us.
Yeah, perfect. Nick, thank you very much for putting the time aside to come and give us an update on HazardCo. Some really cool things happening. The business is growing, and I suspect a lot of that growth and the direction has been dictated by the conversations you've had with the clients, and you've got that good sort of open door policy, let's say, to get that feedback so the product and the experience can be improved. So it's fantastic stuff. I'm sure we'll be hearing more from you at some stage in the future, but just appreciate you being on the show. It was good stuff.
Absolutely. Really enjoyed it. Thanks very much.
Stuff. So, folks, that's it for this episode. If you started to think, maybe I'm not, maybe I don't have all those bases covered, and it can be onerous. I get it. And that's the whole idea of finding people and organisations and platforms that can do a really high quality job, but take the stuff that you don't really want to do or like doing off your plate, but keeping everyone safe, keeping everybody healthy, and making sure that you're completely compliant and protecting your team and your business. So there are people out there like HazardCo that's there you go. That's their wheelhouse. So reach out to them and have that conversation. We'll make sure that we put the link to HazardCo. Jump in, grab the opportunity for a free trial, and have a chat to one of the reps in HazardCo to see whether it's the right fit for your business, and get all of your T's crossed and your I's dotted. Before we get out of here, just another quick reminder to hit the link to take the Builder's Scorecard, 90 seconds of your time, and you'll get some really valuable information that is completely appropriate to your situation in your inbox shortly thereafter. So it's a good investment of 90 seconds. We will be back with another episode of the ToolShed Podcast before you know it. I'm Mick Hawes from Builders Business Black Belt. That is all. I'm out. Bye for now.
You've been listening to the ToolShed. If this podcast struck a chord with you, make sure you spread the word by sharing it with your mates in the building industry. We love your help to make the building industry better for everyone involved.